A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. I'm Ritwika Gupta and you're watching India's longest running entrepreneurship show where India's small businesses take center stage. For over a decade, we've been the voice and platform for MSMEs, celebrating their wins and powering their growth. In a world redefined by disruption, this new season delivers a sharper, future-ready lens to navigate what's next. Season 13 is built around three powerful words: agility, ambition, ascent. Agility to pivot through global disruptions, ambition to push limits and dream bigger, and the ascent to rise stronger and smarter than ever before. So get ready for insights and inspiration as we help India's MSMEs rise, adapt, and lead on IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. For over 12 powerful seasons, Leaders of Tomorrow has stood as the definitive platform for India's small businesses, offering inspiration, information, and a national stage for stories that matter. At the heart of the show is a simple idea: to champion the spirit of entrepreneurship by bringing you conversations with India's most promising founders and thought leaders. From tech disruptors and D2C warriors to legacy brands and first-time entrepreneurs, we cut through the noise and deep dive into what makes businesses tick. But we don't just stop at television. With our springboards, we hit the ground running, traveling across cities to foster live conversations between policymakers, entrepreneurs, and change makers. Our Leaders of Tomorrow broadcast, a digital-first series designed to feature candid and long-form conversations, has also spotlighted new-age Indian brands and the unfiltered side of entrepreneurship. And each season culminates in the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards, a flagship celebration that honors the most dynamic and disruptive MSMEs pushing boundaries across categories. As we step into Season 13, the theme is more relevant than ever: agility, ambition, ascent. In a world defined by uncertainty, it's not the biggest players who survive, it's the most adaptable. So how can MSMEs turn ambition into action? How can entrepreneurs navigate adversity while scaling? Join us this season as we answer these questions and shine a light on India's leaders of tomorrow. Now, India's MSMEs must embrace innovation, digital transformation, and inclusive growth to stay competitive and resilient in a volatile, rapidly evolving global economy. Tonight's panel discussion decodes the opportunities and systematic shifts needed to empower MSMEs as engines of innovation, exports, and equitable growth in the new global order. Joining me tonight in this panel discussion are Thiagarajan, Managing Director, Blue Star; Dr. Sharad Kumar Saraf, Chairman, Technocraft Industries and Past President, Federation of Indian Export Organizations; Priti Rathi Gupta, Founder at LXME; and Henant Jhajhria, Head Consulting at KPMG India. So let me start with an opening question, which is a common question to all my panelists. In a couple of sentences, if you could define the single biggest opportunity and challenge for entrepreneurs and MSMEs, for them to really act on right now so that they stay relevant in a ever-evolving landscape. Mr. Thiagarajan, let's start with you.
It's such a pleasure to be here, part of this panel. I think the most important opportunity is also coming out of the crisis, the trade wars that are going on, and therefore we will have to become self-reliant And in that context, we have to be globally competitive. That means it is for India's supply chain as well as international supply chain. That has opened up a huge opportunity. If you ask me, the topmost agenda in the boardrooms is how to create resilient supply chain. In that context, MSMEs are the pillars.
Yeah.
So they can be leaders of tomorrow.
Absolutely. Dr. Sharad, I'd like to bring you in here.
Yeah, you see, if you consider the opportunities, I think the biggest opportunity is our ever-growing economy and the marketplace. So MSMEs have a huge advantage there, and they need to grow aggressively to cover the market and take advantage of our growing economy. As far as the challenges are concerned, the biggest one is, of course, finance at a reasonable rate of interest, proper technology for the manufacturing MSMEs. Otherwise, I think we are poised for a great growth in MSME sector.
Right. Preeti?
So I think I'm going to just add on to what everybody said, and of course I absolutely second the fact that today our country itself, the way it is growing, is a huge opportunity for the MSME, and we are a country of MSME. So it's I think it's a golden sort of time for them.
Sure.
I think from my perspective, the way I see it is, the opportunity is the fact that today you can use technology in various formats and actually gain a huge advantage from that.
Sure.
But that also is a challenge because it's not always accessible. There's a lot of literacy that needs to be done. Today the ability for a single person running a large business is a reality, can happen as long as they have access and literacy around it. So to me, that seems like a very, very large opportunity, something that we can really work on. And given where we are, thanks to, the DPI that India has, the digital infrastructure that the government has created, I think it's only a matter of time that this reaches ground root level and people are really able to sort of utilize that.
Absolutely. Mr. Henant, I'd like to know your take on this.
Yes, so I think SMEs are working in a very different paradigm than where they were 2 decades back. And to my mind, the biggest opportunity is the way market is accessed has changed considerably. So I think the access to market in the new paradigm using e-commerce, in the new, for globally as we sign up more and more trade deals, even opening up export markets, I think that's a tremendous opportunity for SMEs. On the challenges side, I think it's been the same over many years. There's limited access to finance, but I would say in the last decade, somewhere technology, the way it's moving, the AI, I think SMEs need to find ways to keep pace with it.
Right. Mr. Thiagarajan, I'm going to come to you now. Now, India is seen as a talent-rich nation, but are we doing enough to convert that into innovation-led leadership, and especially in the manufacturing sector? Now, India is set to be reaching $1 trillion, especially the manufacturing sector, by 2025 and 2026, right? So I want to know that where is it that we are lagging in terms of R&D or in the industrial sector from your perspective?
So in this, I don't think MSMEs are alone. Even the big manufacturing companies,
Sure.
they are not investing adequately. So look at 0.65% of GDP as the investment in R&D. Here again, predominantly it is by the government, and there is no adequate investment that is happening even in private sector.
Sure.
So when this is being debated, we fall back on whether there will be 200% depreciation, what will be given. So which means fundamental belief is that R&D is not a value creator. R&D is needed only when an incentive is there for me to navigate through. This is a very major subject, and the outcome of these discussions was this particular one, where we have seen again and again a country's GDP growth and the R&D investment as a percentage of GDP had a correlation, whether it is Japan, Korea, Germany or US or Israel, any country you take it. And therefore, our taking for granted that we will move towards 25% of the GDP being manufacturing without investing in R&D is a false notion.
Okay.
Therefore, investments will have to take place in R&D, one part. That 1 lakh crore fund that came in, which is being operated now, is because of that. But most importantly, when you are trying to be China plus one, I don't think our competitiveness will come by repeating what they've done. It has to come through innovation.
Sure.
At least in consumer durables industry, I know that if we are going to be globally competitive, we have to innovate not only in terms of product, even in the processes that we will follow.
Sure.
So this is what has to be kick-started by the big companies. Now, if the MSMEs want to be part of that, and like for example, I'll tell you real. Today, I have more than 6,000 crore business ready to be offered to MSMEs or startups.
Right.
All that I want them is to replace a item that is being imported or manufacture something that will be competitive. So if they come to me, I am ready to work with them to grow the business. So therefore, they should be equipped with R&D. So we are running towards IITs and other institutions for helping us, and I think it is now happening. We all know that without working with institutions like IIT, we won't be able to shorten that curve.
Sure. I just want to bring you in here, Dr. Sharad. Indian MSMEs are navigating choppy waters, whether we talk about rising protectionism, what all that's happening all over the world, geopolitical tensions, and the macroeconomic environment is quite volatile. How do you view this landscape overall?
Well, I think our MSMEs are quite matured and well informed.
Okay.
As far as any trade barriers are concerned, they are all surmountable. It's a question of just investing in time and some energy in overcoming the trade barriers. The protectionism, well, we need to broad-base the market and improve our spectrum of our market so that if one country comes up with a special protectionism, we have another market to go to. So it's a question of our navigating properly in this volatile situation, for which I think our MSMEs are quite competent to do that. So I don't perceive any problem there.
Sure. Priti, whenever we talk about the India growth story, it is often anchored in infrastructure, entrepreneurship, when we talk about innovation, but inclusion as a pillar is often overlooked. And I know that you have been advocating financial inclusion, in your career. Tell us, how significant is inclusion to the larger India growth story?
I think sometimes I feel I don't have to answer that question, but since you've asked it, today in India we are 1,025 women for every 1,000 men. Right? So we are more than half the population. The ability to really engage them by way of, giving them access to financial tools, particularly credit. There are some incredible statistics. For example, 70% women who run their businesses do it with their own savings.
Sure.
Now that puts them in a very precarious position, because therefore about 50% of those women fall out of the whole journey because, lacking financial security, citing that as a reason. So obviously financial inclusion, and when we say financial inclusion, so far it has always been around, access to credit. It has always been microfinance. But I think we need to sort of open that criteria up, because today the women in workforce has doubled over the last 10 years.
Right.
20% of MSME companies are women. So there is no reason that we have the opportunity to take, you mentioned $1 trillion, contribution by MSMEs. But today in an economy where we are saying we'll be $5-8 trillion economy, women can significantly contribute to that. And I would actually put my neck out and say that if we are 50% of the population, we can contribute 50% and take that even higher.
Sure.
I think the most important thing is that how do we make the right railroads for women to access all financial tools. For example, right from, and I really sort of, what we do at LXME is really getting financial tools to women where they can first build their financial security, understand how to differentiate between personal finance and business finance, and really access credit then.
Right.
And have this continuous, leverage that they can have, which a lot of the male counterparts have to grow their businesses. So I think the opportunity is huge. And I think many people, of course, LXME is doing its own role, but across, I think, the central government, state governments, now there are a lot of initiatives which are, taking or reaching out to women to say, whether it's capital or digital literacy, to say here we are to, obviously everybody sees that opportunity.
Sure.
So, yeah,
All
I
right.
think.
I will come back to you, on that. I have a couple more questions, but bringing you in the picture, Hemant, despite contributing to 30% of India's GDP, only 9% of India's MSMEs have the digital infrastructure. So when we talk about the global tech race, where do you think, according to your research, perhaps you could talk to us about which sectors, where do you think India's MSMEs are lagging when it comes to tech adoption?
So India as an economy and as a country, I think, has been fairly tech savvy. Overall, if you look at globally, countries, and I think MSMEs everywhere, they have this limit of, they are not large corporates. They don't have huge amount of funds to hire large tech teams to build their own technology. So the way MSMEs need to figure this out is through partnerships. They need to be able to plug into larger technology platforms, which are available at a very reasonable cost to them, and that's the way for them to access tech. So whether it's e-commerce, whether it's digitization, whether it's operating model, the whole lot, and there are a whole lot of startups in India who are doing this for SMEs today.
Sure.
Certain sectors have definitely leapfrogged ahead of others. So financial services comes to my mind, which was ahead of I would say most others. Manufacturing has recently invested, though as Mr. Thiagarajan said, not enough, but they need to invest more. But definitely manufacturing is another one. IT sector was always, given the nature of the sector, they have been fairly advanced when it comes to it. And then there are sectors where we could do more, healthcare. Agriculture and all the allied sectors, I think we probably, more investment might be needed. But overall, I think the MSME model is very, very different. And as they grow larger, they have the opportunity to create their own technology and to be able to do. But until then, the model has to work through plugging into existing platforms that can be spread across, whose cost can spread across larger set of SMEs and some, mid-market companies.
Sure. Mr. Thiagarajan, tell me, what is the responsibility or the role of larger enterprises when it comes to empowering MSMEs and helping them integrate into supply chains?
So the first one is, I would say the manufacturing, for example, is just now beginning. In services sector, adaptation was better for the simple reason it was a cost leverage. That's how they looked at. Now, in manufacturing, when they begin, obviously you are expecting low cost.
Yeah.
At the same time, you are expecting them to be a substitute for China. And in my view, it is a very unfair value proposition. You are asking someone beginning to join and match that price. The next thing is that the technology has vastly changed in terms of manufacturing, engineering itself.
Sure.
So you need sophisticated machinery in order to produce a high quality product consistently. So the model has to change in the sense that I am ready to invest in that MSME and handhold. Yeah. Second thing, I advocate this very aggressively. You should not be trying to buy from MSME, negotiating the price at all. I should be offering, this is the product I need, and this is the technological help that I can give, this is the investment I will make, and I am having an assured business for this. So if we are looking at MSMEs will keep knocking our door, we have to negotiate, and that model is not going to work, and it is not good for manufacturing. Automobile industry has somewhat matured, but many other industries it is not. We are looking at them as some cost arbitrage thing, I am supposed to, which is in a manner of speaking, an exploitation at this juncture.
All right, Dr. Sharad, speaking of supply chain integration, how do you think how well our Indian MSMEs are? Are they competitive enough to be integrated into global supply chains?
Yes, they are quite competitive to get integrated into the global supply chain. Of course, there are different sectors and different MSMEs who are having expertise in this. Now you see our MSMEs are quite matured and quite well developed, and they are reasonably tech savvy. I wouldn't say that they are having full complete knowledge of technology, but they are reasonably tech savvy to the extent that their business demands are. So to that extent, I think our MSMEs are very well poised for getting integrated in the supply chain. Even the buyers abroad are now coming directly to the manufacturing hubs like Tirupur or Ludhiana or Jaipur, or wherever the buyers are located, Jodhpur, wherever the manufacturers are located. So they are directly going to the route and directly contacting the MSMEs. So this shows that we are in the process of getting strong, connected with the global supply chain. So I don't think that we have any problem there.
Fantastic. Preeti, coming back to you, and I'm just picking up from your last point. Now, around 22% of MSMEs are women-owned. When it comes to women entrepreneurs, right, especially because we are in an ecosystem, like startup ecosystem that is often chasing valuation over value, right? What, according to you, is that mindset shift that is required? One mindset shift that's required, or maybe some systematic shifts that are required to enable more women entrepreneurs to actually scale and just grow in the industry?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, if you're an entrepreneur and, much to the fact that we work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, the one thing that I tell them is that you should not call yourself a woman entrepreneur. Right. You are an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, you will go out and you will find that opportunity, right?
Sure.
I think the challenge has always been that they can see the opportunity, they can see what they need to do. It's literally like saying, how do I reach? What's the bridge to reach there? Sure. Which includes a lot of literacy, which may include sometimes a lot of access to capital. I think that's the only piece that we need to solve for. Otherwise, it's well proven that once a woman, they make for great entrepreneurs. I think just closing that gap is probably most critical. I also think overall, essentially, and this applies to women a lot, but will apply across the board, is essentially like everybody said, I think technology is going to be a game changer.
Sure.
We have so many within our community. We have women who've started as maybe a content creator, an influencer, and has gone on and realized that there's so much potential for, say, maybe a makeup brand, right? And launched something here, taken it internationally, and this has all been done digitally, where she's not had to travel. She doesn't have a large sales team. She doesn't have a large manufacturing, but really the ability to say, I can outsource this manufacturing here. I can reach out, access markets via, the digital medium using technology. I think is very powerful, which is why I think I'm very, very optimistic that we'll see in the coming decade. Hopefully that number of 20% will be 50% and more.
Absolutely. So. No, I completely agree. Technology has been a game changer. And I think when Hemant, you also spoke about technology to a large extent. But I also want to touch on India's formalization push, in terms of GST. You have the Udyam registration as well, which is ongoing. So in your view, how can this formalization, not only empower MSMEs to become more competitive, but also, have like a bit of structure in place, because MSMEs have been looked at as the informal set of in the business landscape, right? So how do you think this has really helped?
So two parts to it. I think formalization has its own immense benefits, but formalization is also inevitable in a digital world.
Sure.
It creates a huge amount of transparency.
Yeah.
But more importantly, formalization has immense benefits. Like I said, it gives MSMEs access to finance, because it creates a record based on which underwriting can be done. It gives them access to government schemes. Government has many schemes going on, whether it's about financing, but also tech upgradation. Secondly, it gives them access to markets. So there are government procurement schemes for which you need to be a formally registered MSME.
Right.
But even global supply chains, if you want to get integrated somewhere there, most of those global companies would want you to be come in as a formal MSME. So that whole integration requires formalization in many ways. It also creates productivity benefits, in my view. Because you can simplify a lot more things. So there is a significant effort on government's part to simplify all the regulation around MSMEs and to allow them to get bigger. And I think as MSMEs now can formalize, they can probably make their operational piece a lot more efficient. It gives them access to tech, which is something I was talking about earlier, because it allows them to get into contracts with larger platforms where they can access technology in a seamless way. So it has multiple benefits, both from operational side, giving them larger access to larger markets, and then giving them the finance to really grow and scale up.
Right. Mr. Thiagarajan, coming to you, Make in India, has completed more than 10 years now. But how do we make in India more than just a slogan, but a brand that can be globally trusted, for its innovation? What is your take on that?
I think it is happening. We should be patient. I think there is entrepreneurial spirit and there is ambition. And it is just that in transition you will have many headwinds, and unfortunately, as this is taking off, there are multiple things happening in the world. So the uncertainties around the trade deals and how this is going to pan out. Then there is a lot more of skilling talent. Suddenly you're waking up, and where are you going to get the talent? For that scale, I'm saying, I keep telling that it is like Rip Van Winkle story, that you wake up and you suddenly find everything has changed. Even big companies, including ours. So we are, it's just not possible for you to suddenly recruit some 400 managers for manufacturing, but we are in the right direction. We have to be patient and we should have the perseverance. It will happen.
Right.
And this is the journey I think China went through, or when Western Europe evolution that time, US went through that. So why it wouldn't happen? It'll happen.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Sharad, with the growing focus on China Plus One strategy, where do you think India's MSMEs are positioned in the new economic order? Especially, I'm asking from the point of view, how can we truly unlock our export potential? What are the steps to be taken?
China Plus One policy has certainly thrown up a great opportunity particularly for Indian MSME sector. All they need to do now is to scale up their manufacturing process. Number one. Number two, add a lot of technology. I am not saying only information technology or computer programs and so on. There is a lot of technology involved in manufacturing as well. For example, just to tell you, in our own company, we used to employ something like 120, 130 welders. Now we do robotics, so we only have about 12 or 15 welders to look after those machines. So like this, there is a great amount of automation and manufacturing software that is happening, and this will give enormous advantage to our MSMEs. And China Plus One is giving the buyers, particularly in US and Europe, inspiration to buy from India. We are the only alternate, good, reliable source, and I think our MSMEs are doing a great job. They are doing absolutely great. Earlier, the MSMEs used to be dependent on large export houses and go up with the middleman. Now there is a direct approach, and MSMEs are able to export directly. They are doing very well themselves.
Fantastic. Priti, coming to you. from an investor point of view, because you day in and day out, meet a lot of entrepreneurs, tell me, what are the qualities are you seeing in today's entrepreneurs? What are some things they probably need to keep in mind, perhaps when it comes to growing their business, or what are the positive qualities are you seeing in today's entrepreneurs?
Entrepreneurs across, I think, the different generations, the positive always has been the risk-taking ability and saying, okay, I'm going to go and take a jump at that and, put my neck out and do this. I think what's changed today, and I think Mr. Thiagarajan just said it very rightly, that one day you wake up and you say everything is changed. And I think that is at a very rapid scale when you look around you. I think, one, entrepreneurship thankfully has been glamorized now, which it wasn't.
Right.
If you look at 2 decades back, it wasn't. Today, everybody I meet wants to be a startup founder, right? Which essentially means that they want to set up a business and make money. Of course, the difference there is a business idea, there is the opportunity that they're able to see. I think just the ability to see across and look at problem statements, whether it is the information arbitrage that used to exist before completely having gone away, that's a great opportunity. Access to capital today, again, I think while it is a challenge on one hand, it has definitely got a lot better. So all of that, I think people are willing to take a plunge. We always sort of debate whether, the whole startup culture, where one starts to look at saying, okay, I just want to create valuations, and sometimes lose sight of the core business and say, okay, how unit economics, for example, right? I think that is something which worries me a lot, because when you run a business, I think that you need to keep an eye on, how you're going to make money, right? Effectively, that's the end goal of running a company. But there is a lot more, I think the risk-taking ability is higher, access to capital is there, there are people to back you. So all of that has changed tremendously. Also, I think as a generation, we've moved. We came from scarcity. Our generation and the one before came from a place of scarcity. Today, there is abundance. There is, the ability to say, okay, I don't have that many responsibilities and I can take this leap of faith.
Sure.
So all of that, yes, rapidly changing. And of course, women are coming into the fold as well. Women want to take up entrepreneurship with more and more technology, whether it is AI, whether it is in manufacturing, etc. I think there will be need for people to take up entrepreneurship, because there will be a new wave of, moving from jobs to saying, what else can I do? And I think that's where we see a huge shift. I see that all the time. But I think the optimism that we see today with the entrepreneurs we meet, the fire in the belly, is just amazing. Sometimes I've met people who've come from maybe a tier 3 town, and when they come with that business idea and they know that they're going to crack it, they have that pure optimism that I'm going to be the next unicorn. So I think that's amazing.
Absolutely, and that's the reason why we have ambition as a word as well in our theme this time. Henant, coming to you, tell me, as India works towards its $5 trillion target, how would you say, realistically speaking, MSMEs will play a role in contributing to GDP as well as employment?
So we can look at the history, and whether we look at US or China experience, MSMEs always have had a big role in creating larger economies.
Sure.
Any multi, even $1 trillion company was MSME someday. And today's MSMEs are going to create future for tomorrow. So I think MSMEs have a huge role. They already contribute 30% of GDP. My view would be this will grow. Actually, their contribution to GDP will grow, because the environment is much more positive. Just like we heard from Priti. It's today the access to finance is much different, but whether from the government or from venture capitalists. In your early years, when you don't have to take 10 years to scale up, so it gives you that opportunity. Today, access to technology, the barriers to entries are much more limited, and access to technology is a lot more. So you don't have an incumbent who has a larger distribution. Like digital as a way of distributing is creating a completely new paradigm. Today, the culturally, Priti talked about it. Culturally, we are in a different place. that entrepreneurship is looked as something exciting to do and a lot more. So I think we are in a good place. I think if we manage to upgrade our talent, as Mr. Thiagarajan said, and we need to focus really a lot more on trade schools and a lot more on connecting our academic research, high quality academic research, with what we are able to apply in and create actually companies out of that. I think if we continue to solve those pieces as well, I think we are going to be in a great place. India has that culture and that mindset to take it to the next place.
Fantastic. I think this was a very fruitful discussion. But as we are wrapping up today's panel, one last common question to all of you. If you could leave our viewers, the entrepreneurs watching our show today, with one actionable advice in terms of how they can rise, lead and adapt in this macroeconomic volatility, in times of uncertainty, what would that be? Hemant, perhaps let's start with you this time.
So my simple advice would be, this is a dynamic, volatile, these are dynamic, volatile times, and MSMEs are very resilient, and they just need to solve real problems, and they just need to keep making those small pivots to ensure that they are keeping themselves aligned to the real problems.
Sure.
As long as that happens, I think the future is bright.
Fantastic. Mr. Thiagarajan?
I would advise them to look at simply the import substitution opportunity. There is huge out there. It is going to be growing significantly.
All right. Priti?
So I would say two things. One, I think access to equity capital, because getting debt has always been a deterrent. And then the other thing is to be very agile, because I think, like Hemant said, we are in a very dynamic environment. Sometimes when you're running your business, you tend to be, wearing blinders, and you forget that, the outside environment has changed very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
So, it's very important to know that you don't become a Xerox, right? You actually look out and say, okay, what is happening outside, and how can I be very agile? And MSMEs have the ability, because they're not, it's not like wanting or having or making elephants dance. So they can very quickly get on their feet and say, okay, this is what I need to do. So I think just keeping those two in mind.
Great. Dr. Sharad?
Yeah, in my opinion, our MSMEs need to have faith in technology. They need to constantly upgrade their manufacturing facilities to keep them more competitive, more profitable at all the times.
Right.
They need to take more advantage of our research institutes. Mr. Thiagarajan rightly mentioned about IITs.
Yeah.
And I can say this for sure as the chairman of IIT Bombay, that we have excellent research facilities which are always open for the industry. And we do not have enough industries coming in to take advantage of all the facilities that we have. We have some phenomenal facilities, including AI center and all the most modern equipment that is possible in the country. So the MSMEs would do well by sort of farming out their research or development needs to such institutions, and have faith and confidence in their ability, and see that they perform. And the last slogan that I would like to give to MSMEs is, the best is yet to come. So they have a very bright future, and the best is still to come.
Well, I'm glad that we are ending it on such a bullish note. Technology, R&D and faith. That's what are the three big takeaways from this panel discussion. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of the panel discussion. It was lovely having all of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch Leaders of Tomorrow Monday to Friday, 7:30 p.m. only on ET Now. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.